Really? You didn't put the clothes away like you said you were going to? Well, I'm not cleaning this up. I'm going to just call the Godzilla maid services. Yes, I'd like to order a Godzilla for pickup. Yeah, I need him to pick up my clothes. How long is that going to take? Why is he... Yeah, I guess that's fine. Thank you. They'll be here in an hour or so. This is ridiculous. Welcome, I am the Kaiju no Kami, and today's review is a Patreon request review of the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla cartoon series. Joseph Barbera of Hanna-Barbera fame wanted to make a TV show out of Godzilla, so he joined up with the man who brought Monster Zero and War of the Gargantuas to the United States, Henry Shepperstein, to license the monster from Toho. Toho had granted them the rights to the monster, but that was about it. They weren't even allowed to use Godzilla's signature roar, which is why Godzilla sounds more like the Incredible Hulk grunting than a monster thanks to voice actor Ted Cassidy. You may also know him best as Lurch from the Addams Family. Which sounds better to you, this or this? I don't understand why they couldn't get the rights to the roar as a separate license. If so, that's pretty stupid. Then again, this is Toho I am talking about, and they are just built on stupidity. Well, whatever. Let's kick this review off by taking a look at the show's heroes. The heroes. Our heroes sound like the start of a murder mystery game. You have the sailor, captain of the Calico, Carl Majors, a biologist named Quinn Darien, her assistant and token black guy named Brock Borden, and Quinn's nephew, token child character Pete. I'm gonna say here was Dr. Darien with the wrench in the mess hall. They are voiced by Jeff David, Brenda Thompson, Hilly Hicks, and Ale Ayazaman.
No one's really sure, Pete.
An old sea legend says it's bottomless and inhabited by sea monsters.
It's okay, Zuki. Brock's just trying to scare us.
Well, there's something strange around here.
There's also a baby Godzilla-like creature that can fly named Godzooky, who is voiced by Scooby-Doo himself, Don Messick.
Godzooky's okay, Pete. Just getting an oil bath.
That well is a real gusher.
Oils well that ends well. Ugh. I hate Godzooky, although I did like this moment here where he managed to get super strength. I'm also surprised that despite his size, there have never been any actual accidents on this ship. Oops. Sadly, there's not much to this group outside of being able to pretty much rename Captain Majors to Captain Obvious.
We're trapped.
No shit.
Can you get any more obvious?
I don't believe it. Look at the size of that giant jellyfish, Quinn.
You can. And boy, was that line really stupid.
You're an idiot.
Oh, and Captain Majors is also quick to give up.
You'll never get me to bend to your will, Zaius.
Maybe this will change your mind.
Dr. Darien!
All right, Zaius. You win. Here's the signal.
You're stupid!
They don't have that much personality as far as characterization goes, as none of them grow at all throughout the show. Hell, just listen to Brock's enthusiasm when he's being attacked by a giant Venus flytrap on not Monster Island.
Ah! A giant Venus flytrap! And it's closing tighter!
Can you show some sort of emotion? How about you, Dr. Darien?
It looks like we have no choice now.
Oh my god. Why can't you all just die? They are the exact same people in the final episode as they are in the first episode. Now, to be fair, this was just standard practice with all American cartoons at the time, as they were just meant to be weekly adventures that anyone could tune in without having seen the previous episodes. It worked back then, but it dates the series quite a bit now, especially when there is no actual origin story. We have no idea how some of these characters met, what their motivations are, or how they even came into control of Godzilla and Godzooky. Yes. You heard that right. They control Godzilla. If you aren't familiar with the show, basically it's about these people researching things across the world, and they have a device that can summon Godzilla.
We better call Godzilla.
Pete's right, Captain. It's our only chance.
How this is possible is unknown to us, as it is never explained. We don't even know anything about this Godzilla. Did he attack Tokyo in 1954? Is he supposed to be the Godzilla we said goodbye to in Terror of Mechagodzilla? Was he even born thanks to atomic radiation? Quinn's comment here has me quite perplexed.
He's gonna catch it. But it's a potential atom bomb.
Has he even destroyed a city? I'm thinking otherwise based on this comment.
He's attacking the power station.
You're wrong. Godzilla would never do that. Godzilla would never do that. Never do that.
You're stupid!
How did he become a friend to mankind? Where did Godzooky come from? To help answer this question is conspiracy theorist Dr. Paula Noya. Welcome, Doctor. Are you enjoying yourself?
I'm doing terrible. Did you know that in Sailor Moon, the 5 Sailor Guardians apparently don't know what they look like out of costume until they meet each other face to face, because apparently they don't match their looks because of some shadow? And then there's a guy who killed 53 women because his dog told him to. And then another guy killed his family and friends because his mother told him to, who was a corpse that he kept in his basement. And then the toothpaste.
Okay, Doctor, you're kind of going off on some tangents there. Can you just tell us why or how Godzilla became the Calico's errand boy?
Oh, that's an easy one. So the crew of the Calico kidnapped Godzooky, and they used him as ransom to keep Godzilla under their thumb because Godzilla wouldn't kill his child.
Really?
And
wow,
then,
that's
after
dark.
a period of time, because Godzooky's so young, he didn't really know any better, so it became like Stockholm Syndrome, where he just stayed with them. That's why the tone of the theme song that you always watch changes, because it goes from like Godzilla to Godzooky, because you need to have that mental capability of Stockholm Syndrome because they're really confident and comfortable with each other now. And then Godzilla, once again, refuses to kill his child or kill everyone because they have his child, because his child's still technically kidnapped, even though it's Stockholm Syndrome. Don't you remember that girl who was kidnapped like multiple years ago and that was finally released after having 3 kids with her kidnapper? It's kind of like that, except they don't have children.
So basically it's just a glaring plot point with no explanation whatsoever.
But no, Stockholm Syndrome! They kidnapped him, and then they decided to use him as a tool to control Godzilla for a long period of time. And that's why his crying or some random light brings Godzilla to them.
Well, thank you for your time, Doctor. Anyway, occasionally there are some other people that either meet up with the crew or have to be rescued by them, but there's nothing major going on with any of these other characters. We never see them again after their single episode.
There we go. What's happened to it?
It looks like frostbite.
Frostbite? In the desert?
Oh yeah, and Hanna-Barbera wasn't even allowed to show Godzilla actually burn anything with his atomic breath. Thus, he just has regular fire breath that does nothing, and laser beams that shoot from his eyes. I'm actually surprised Toho didn't borrow the I-beams when they made the Heisei movies in the 90s, given how much they love just having the monsters shoot at one another. The villains. Pretty much the entire series is just the crew of the Calico having to deal with some giant monster menace, and that's it. The show features a multitude of monsters to the likes of Rodan, Baragon, Hedera,
It's moving into the city!
And nothing of value was lost.
Ebera, Kumonga, to even Gamera and Virus. Okay, I kid. None of the monsters in this show have ever appeared in any of the movies, and none of the monsters from the movies have ever appeared in this show. They may hold some resemblance to the monsters we know and love, but they are more like bootlegged copycats than the real thing. That's not to say there aren't some cool ones, as I really do dig a few of them, though they would make better Ultraman villains than Godzilla ones. Still, a few of my favorites include the seaweed monster, this monster named Axor that can mind control people,
We live to do your bidding, mighty Axor.
these giant golden statues that come to life, these other statues that come to life,
They've come to life!
and my favorite of the show, a chimera. Now, the second season does break the monotony of giant monsters by introducing us to a couple of human villains, such as this wannabe James Bond villain who clones our heroes.
Welcome. I am Dr. Votrang,
I demand to know what you intend to do with us.
and I shall tell you. But first, you must meet my valued assistant, number 1.
Then we have an episode that introduces us to an evil terrorist organization named Cobra.
Work with me, and I will give you the world in less than 24 hours.
No, not that Cobra. That would have been so much cooler.
Max. I've been waiting for you.
Oh yeah, them. Not that Cobra either.
Any nation foolish enough to attack us, instead of paying our price, will suffer instant destruction.
Radar has spotted our ship.
Bender is bored! Bender is bored! Bender!
The finale brings in some alien icemen who want to freeze the Earth. Sadly, no ice puns were included. Guess you know what that means, right?
You are not sending me to the cooler. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! Stay cool, bird boy. Can you be cold, Batman?
What do you say we heat things up?
My passion, thoughts for my bride alone.
Talk about your cold shoulder.
Nice to see you.
The animation and music. Like with the storytelling, the animation and music are also on par with what was coming out at that time. Once again, this doesn't necessarily make it bad, but it also means it hasn't aged quite well at all. The colors are fine, although a bit simplistic. However, my biggest gripe just comes from the lack of any good emotional range displayed in the animation. For example, here we have your standard lukewarm facial expression.
What do you mean, had I find you?
Then we have excited face.
I've been sailing since I was a boy, and this is the first time I've ever felt seasick.
Right. Godzooky seasick.
Well, it's actually more like resting excited face. Speaking of which, here's resting concerned face.
It's Quinn and Brock, Godzooky. You've gotta save them.
Resting shocked face.
This psychadioid is extinct. It died out millions of years ago.
You mean we've ended up in the prehistoric past?
Resting happy face.
Terrific. Let's lower away, Captain.
And lazy eye face.
Does this thing work?
Whoa! Dude, that's creepy.
It also doesn't help that they tend to reuse many of the same animation cells over again, just in front of new backgrounds. Then we have things like this bit where instead of actually animating the machine moving, you can clearly see the frame itself is just being slid across the background. Laziness at its finest. Godzilla's design is okay, it's kind of boring looking and way too much green. In fact, this is pretty much where American audiences got the idea that Godzilla is supposed to be green and not charcoal black. Even the spines aren't all that great. They're just kind of triangular and that's it. Nowhere near the intricate designs the movies have. Then you have the fights. The fights between Godzilla and the Monster of the Week are average at best. There's nothing all that exciting to be found, and Hoyt Curtin's lackluster score doesn't help matters. Just listen to the music during this fight scene. It is just so dull and boring. Now let's take that same scene and throw in some Afukabe music. Sure, the animation is still a tad lifeless, but that new music adds so much more energy to that scene. What's odd is that Curtin was responsible for some of the memorable opening themes to the Jetsons and Johnny Quest, yet his Godzilla music just doesn't work all that well. Thankfully, there are still a few good tracks to be found in the show, such as this one that I do enjoy. Although there is that really bad theme music that I just cannot stand.
Up from the depths, 30 stories high, breathing fire, his head in the sky. Godzilla, Godzilla, Godzilla.
The Godzilla portion is okay, but then it suddenly goes into that whimsical sounding joke just out of the blue for Godzooky, as if the composer needed to make the song more lighthearted for the kids that might have gotten scared by the intensity of the Godzilla segment.
And Godzooky.
There's not much to the song, and it is over way too quickly for you to even really get invested in it. Although there is no denying that the music itself can be kinda catchy. Oh, and that's pretty much what's used for the ending theme, so there's no special ending theme music. Another negative towards the animation is how inconsistent the scale of the monsters are. In this scene, the Calico is tiny in Godzilla's hands, yet in this moment, this car is huge. It's like there was no communication with the animators on how big or small the monsters should be, which can get quite annoying. Scale. What is scale? I mean, just look at Godzilla's hand in this scene when he picks up these guys. And then in the next.
It's destroying everything.
Scale requires continuity, which is a luxury this show cannot have.
It's destroying everything in it.
The episodes. If there is one word I would use to explain this show to someone who has never seen it before, it would be repetition. Our protagonists investigate a discovery. They get into trouble, sometimes out of sheer scientific stupidity. They call Godzilla to save them. He does. They get into more trouble and have to call Godzilla again, who fights off some giant monster or something. The end. Rinse and repeat that plot 26 times overall, and you have described this entire series in a nutshell. The only response I have to this setup is the twice mentioned, "This is how cartoons were done at the time of the show." As such, can I really take away points from it just being what everything else was? I don't know. On one hand, it is nice that you can go in and watch any episode like it's a mini movie without having seen anything prior. On the other, it makes for a very dull and boring show when the characters aren't all that interesting and there aren't really any villains to speak of. Thus, I often found myself bored just because I was watching the same episode repeatedly without anything available to grasp my attention, so I looked forward to the next episode. There were several episodes I nearly fell asleep during, with the biggest culprit being the one titled The Cyborg Whale. Good God, was this episode just a snooze fest. The Calico crew are testing out a brand new submarine AI system that resembles a whale. A thunderstorm causes the AI to short circuit,
Of course!
locking both Brock and Pete inside as it makes its way back to its creators in Hawaii.
What's wrong?
The door's stuck.
There's not even much to it as far as monster action goes. If there's anything positive I can say about it, it is that it did try to do something different by not having the episode feature another giant monster for Godzilla to fight. Instead, we just get a boring story of a rogue AI that really doesn't do much of anything. At this point, I would have welcomed a Skynet-esque story, but I guess that would have been too complicated for the time. Despite my pessimism, there were some solid episodes. I did enjoy one that dealt with Atlantis, although the show definitely could have used some dialogue like this to spice up the entertainment.
Don't let your repeated and crushing defeats get you down, old chum. Why, taking a savage beating is part of being a hero.
The one with the seaweed monster was pretty cool as it had a good horror vibe to it.
Here we are, Zooky. I'll just set the timer and...
Oh, and there was one that took place in Egypt. Nevertheless, my favorite episode of the series is without a doubt Island of Lost Ships. It has a completely different feel from the episodes that preceded it and even those that followed, as it features our heroes getting brought to an island inhabited by the sirens of Greek mythology.
I merely wanted to welcome you to my island. Your island? Yes, I live here alone.
In addition to that, we also get a Minotaur and his labyrinth and a giant chimera for Godzilla to fight. However, for some reason, Quinn makes one dumb-ass remark.
Do you hear some kind of singing?
You're probably thinking of the sirens, Buck. Mythical creatures who lured sailors to their deaths on the rocks. But that was only legend.
Let me get this straight. One of your crew members is a flying dragon, while you are also constantly having to be rescued by an atomic behemoth who fights other colossal critters. But the sirens are legendary creatures. They are unbelievable. They cannot possibly exist. You're a special kind of stupid, aren't you? How did you become a biologist again? Oh, that's right. We don't know. You just are. Probably got that degree out of a box of Cracker Jacks.
This isn't real enough for you.
In the end, the Hanna-Barbera tune is not necessarily a bad cartoon, it's just a product of its time. It has not aged quite well, and outside of the repetitious monster fights, there's not too much to really see here. Still though, if you are a Godzilla fan by any means, it is definitely worth checking out at least a couple episodes. Just don't go in expecting greatness. You could do much, much worse though. Until next time, bye.
Wow, a city in the clouds!
Welcome to heaven, motherfuckers.